All right. Okay, so now let's talk about .NET. What is .NET and what is C#, and what is the Visual Studio? We're gonna start to do some hands-on and open Visual Studio. I already have it installed. You can try this later. I'm gonna post this recording later on the OWL page, so that you can try it out yourself. So what is .NET? So the C# is one of the languages that are used in a family of languages that are called .NET. All of them are created by Microsoft. Okay, so what is .NET? So right now, the claim is that it's cross-platform language, like a cross-platform means like the program you create can run on Windows or can run on Mac or can run on Linux, as long as you have the environment, the execution environment for it in that system, you can execute them there. It's very much are supposed to follow the model of Java. Remember how Java worked? When you write a Java program, if you write it on Windows, can you run it on Mac? Yes, you can. So how does that work? You know the compiler? There's a Java compiler, right? So what does the compiler do? It translates the instructions into an intermediate language. In Java, it's called bytecode. So it's not exactly the language of the machine. It's an intermediate language called bytecode. Who understands bytecode? Not Windows, not Mac. The execution environment for the bytecode is the Java virtual machine. So if you install the Java virtual machine on a Mac and then run the bytecode in the virtual machine, it would execute because the virtual machine will do the translation necessary for the underlying system. Okay. Now, you're gonna need a virtual machine specific for every system. So you need a virtual machine for your, what is this? Okay, can you give me the here, please? You're a very popular guy. No, here. Yes. No, nobody can reach you. All right, thank you so much. Okay, so for that to happen, you're gonna need a virtual machine that is specific to Windows, and another virtual machine specific to Mac, another virtual machine specific to Linux. Okay, but the pure program, the code that you write, not the virtual machine, doesn't have to be specific. Now that's the general claim. It's not 100% perfect, but that's the general objective. Okay. Now it's very similar concept here. The .NET. Well, when it started, it was just it has the concept of the intermediate language, just to be able to write in different languages. So when it started early on, it has this intermediate language, but it was only able to run on Windows. Okay, now later on they decided to make it a cross-platform and create the execution environment necessary for other systems as well. Okay, so right now the claim or the general objective is that it should be cross-platform. So when you write any program with any of the .NET languages, the compiler will translate it into an intermediate language, which is literally called intermediate language, IL. Okay, and then it will be executed in the different environment accordingly. All right. Now, a very cool feature in the .NET family is that you can write a solution that using different languages and they all can work together, because in reality, in the execution stage, they all are in the intermediate language. Okay, so languages like C# is the language that we're going to focus on, but there is F# as well, and then there is the Visual Basic .NET. Okay, so all of them are based on historically other languages, but that's not necessary. There's an old language called Visual Basic. It's not necessary to talk about now, but if you go to this link, you can see this is the a virtual environment or an online environment for you to run the code, test the code. Okay, so this would be the syntax for the C#, and you will notice that the C# syntax is very, very similar to Java syntax. Okay, and that can be a good thing. Like there are pros and cons. A good thing that it can speed up your learning curve, but there is cons that they are not identical. There are similarity in the syntax, but they are not identical. So if you're not careful about the differences, you might get confused. Okay, so the syntax look like Java syntax, and most of the time works like how it works in Java, but there are subtle differences that you need to pay attention to. Okay. Now, if you look here, so this is now definitely Java doesn't have anything called var, right? You've seen the keyword var before, right? In JavaScript. Now you see here's a subtle difference. It looks like how it is in JavaScript, doesn't work like how it works in JavaScript. Looks like it, but how it works is different. Okay, we'll talk about that in a bit today. And this is how you can run the code and see the results. So this good environment to test how like specific syntax constructs for like quick testing. If you're curious about the other languages, you can look here. I lost the mouse. Okay, so this is how the F# look like. It's more like JavaScript. Okay, now this is how the Visual Basic look like. It's just the appearance. The differences between the language within the .NET is just the appearance, but underlying that, like the end in the C# is the same like the end in the other languages. It's just maybe it looks different, but it uses the same definition of the data type from the framework. But here's the thing. Now, C#, just like Java, is an object-oriented language, right? Object-oriented language. Now, Java is an object-oriented language. You know that, right? JavaScript is not an object-oriented language, right? What is it? Object-based. Okay. So in an object-oriented language, you need to have at least one class that has a main function. Now, how come we're saying that C# is an object-oriented language, but we don't see a class? It looks more like a scripting language. So that's just the appearance of it. This is just a feature that was introduced in .NET. If you want to run certain script quickly, you just run the part that would go in the main function, and then behind the scene, the compiler will generate the rest of the code. Okay, so don't be deceived by the appearance of it. It is still an object-oriented language. So that feature is called top-level programs. Okay, we're not going to use it, but just so that you don't get confused if you see it. So if you happen to create a generate a C# template using the top-level programs, it would look like this, but in reality, the namespace, the class, and the main function will be generated, and then your code will be part of the main function. Okay, so that's like if you want to use it for testing and try to understand a particular set of statements, you can use it. It can be helpful. All right, but let's start by creating our first project. Now, you see, any programming can be done in one file. You can open a text file, right, a notepad file, and run your code. And depending on the language you're using, you set the extension to that particular, the extension corresponding to this language. So in Java, the extension was for the code file, for the source code is .java, right? JavaScript, the extension is .js. C#, the extension is .cs, C#. Okay, and you can just create one file, compile it, and run it by itself. But we are talking about the creation of a system, right? The creation of a system is not just one file. definitely multiple files with configuration files and other types of files, not just source code. So you don't want just open a notepad. You need a development environment, okay? And IDE, Integrated Development Environment, is a tool that helps you create systems. So include the source code files with other needed artifacts in order to create a system, okay? So if we, after you install your Visual Studio Code, I'm gonna open it, not VS Code, Visual Studio we're using this semester. Now there's a lighter version of the Visual Studio called VS Code. You may have used it in JavaScript. It's a lighter version. You can run C# with it, but it doesn't integrate well with Unity. So we're gonna use Visual Studio, which is the full-fledged IDE. All right, so let's see. It's a little heavy, so it takes a little some time to open. Now, especially that I have Zoom and Solstice. Okay, so this is how, like, the welcome page or the starting point. So I'm gonna try to create a new project. All right, it allow you, or like one of the nice features to help you speed up your development, that it gives you some templates to start with. So we're gonna start with console applications and to test out the different constructs of the language, and then we're gonna switch to Unity later. But for the 3 weeks that we talk about the language, we're gonna use console applications. Okay, so you wanna search for console. So the console is just a terminal or the command line, okay? So I'm just gonna search for a template that is suitable for the console. Now I only installed the C# because I don't want, it's already heavy. I didn't want other languages to make it even heavier, okay? So if you have other languages installed as well, you may see them, okay? But now I'm gonna use the C# here. So now there are two concepts here. There's one concept that kind of might be new to you. You already know the project concept, right? So if you use the IDE for Java, I created a project for it. All right. Now here, in addition to creation of the project, you can also create a solution. So the solution is the surrounding the parent organization unit. And within the solution, you can have multiple projects. Okay, and these projects could be of different languages or different dotNET languages. So you can have one project with C#, another project with VB, another project with F#. Okay, we're not gonna do that here, but it's good. It's a nice feature for you to know. So I can name the project and then can have another name for the solution if I'm intending to have multiple projects within the solution. But this is not what I'm intending. So here I'm just gonna say hello app. Okay, we're just gonna try to say hello world as we usually do when we are learning a new language. Okay, so I'll keep the name of the solution same as the name of the project because I'm not intending to add another project. All right, so now this is how it looked like. I asked it to create a project based on C# template. So this is what came up. Now let's see how much you can recognize from this.